How can it be that Africa is the richest continent on the earth and our gold is mined by De Beers? How can it be that Africa is the richest continent on the world and our diamond is produced in South Africa, in Botswana, and Namibia, and in Sierra Leone, and in Liberia, but the price is determined in Antwerp, in Belgium? How can it be? How can it be that Africa produces cocoa in Togo, in Cote d'Ivoire, and in Ghana, and chocolate is then made in Switzerland and in Belgium, who have not even a bush of cocoa? How can it be that tea is produced in Ethiopia and in Uganda and in Kenya, and when it is taken to the United Kingdom, they now call it English tea? How can it be? How can it be? How can it be? How can it be that coltan is mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but not a single African country makes a mobile phone? How can it be? How can it be? It can only be because we have allowed our minds to be captured. It can only be because we have allowed ourselves to be spiritually confused. This is intergenerational. The pains that are being visited upon this generation are out of the sins that were committed by the other generation. It is a time to repent, so that we who have transgressed may say that we have repented, because the future now does not lie in us. The future lies in the young ones. Chinua Achebe was right. These are the young suckers that will grow when the old banana dies. These are the very same upon whose shoulder Africa shall rise. Your duty and my duty is to plant the tree in the knowledge that one generation plants a tree, another generation waters the tree, another generation prunes the tree, another generation enjoys its shade. That is our duty.
They realized that if we take away Africans from practice and move them to theory, we will be creating a labor force for ourselves. So they brought a school system which did not promote thinking, but promoted remembering.
Say that again.
They brought a school system which did not promote thinking, but promoted remembering, for the sake of creating good employees who don't think but can remember. Okay?
Right.
So they brought a school system where you learnt useless things. Homo habilis. Who was Shaka's mother? What is the longest river in Africa?
Yeah.
Tell me, what is the use of that rubbish? Okay? So you went into school and you were studying how many times Muslims pray per day.
Yep.
You wake up at night to study how many times Muslims pray per day. So you memorize photosynthesis. You memorize how many teeth a dog has. You memorize everything. And at the end of the day, what did they produce? They produced someone who was a container of useless knowledge. A container of useless knowledge.
Right.
That is why today we have doctors, we have been independent for 55 years. Have you heard that there are vaccines being made by Zambian doctors? So you walk out of medical school as someone who knows when to give Panadol, how to take temperature. You are a doctor who is a Panadol distributor. And it's not your fault, the education system. Okay? You have professors in this country, in the School of Forestry at Copperbelt University.
Yep.
We have lived with Mukula tree since God created the world. All they know is how to label the parts of the tree. They don't know the value of the tree.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
So when this mission succeeded, then they came to set up industries. And when they set up industries, who was the laborer? The graduate from the school of remembering. Okay. Someone who would remember how to dig, where to dig. Someone who would remember how to cut a tree and how many pieces. Someone would remember. And they rewarded you with a bribe called a salary, and we became comfortable.
Right.
So when they come into Africa, what are they coming to do? They are coming to reap your resources, and you are a means of production. So this is what made Africa poor.
Sub-Saharan Africa has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. Okay? And Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow Sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep Sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same. We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap. Because if Africa does do something different, I assure you living standards of all those in Europe and North America and Asia is going to fall. Okay? And that is a big price to pay. I assure you that the West is not going to allow that without a big fight. Universities and academic institutions, we are complicit in this whole enterprise. Okay, so the job of many Western academics is to convince Africans they have to keep doing what they're doing. Okay, and to show them it's your fault that you're poor. It's not our fault. It's your fault that you're poor. You know, so. This is what we do in academic institutions. We know the basic forces that have caused this underdevelopment. We know it's colonization, but I do want to discuss the global economic structures, the global financial institutions, and economic ideology. No country ever develops without manufacturing. Okay, producing raw materials will not take you anywhere. Producing basic agricultural goods will not take you anywhere. This is deliberate because we will never, as Western economists, as Western policymakers, we cannot afford to allow Africa to industrialize and start producing manufactures. Okay, so we will do everything to stop that.
I get money in my agency for studies on Africa's potential to process mangoes. But I don't get the money to say, can you help me build the pilot plant? It's $3 million. Can you help me combine your aid from the Dutch government with a processing company where you put part of the money and I build a pilot plant to show President that he can process his mangoes and stuff and put it on Tesco in London? That's what I want to see in the food crisis now. Not just the emergency, but how we combine in public PPP, combine ODA with some private sector venture capital to help these countries link to global markets. So I raise the issue of corporate social responsibility. Because let us face it, today Africa is washed with minerals. That's why the investment is coming. And by the way, in spite of lack of rule of law and democracy, they're coming in to sign contracts with us. But can we have a CSR, a corporate social responsibility, that says to these companies, as Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is trying to do in Liberia with Mittal, to say, hey, we want to know the revenues. We want to see that you don't import chickens to feed your local workers, but you help our farmers produce the chicken. Can we have a common value system with CSR for everybody, whether it's Chinese, American, whatever company? Because today it is the reality that our comparative advantage is still minerals. What we want to see today, after 50 years of training with the world, is will these companies also say, you know something, it is in our enlightened self-interest that we also invest in agribusiness supply chain, so these people supply us our food. So we help the economy evolve and the education system.